Hey everybody, Parallel here. Welcome back to Star Trek Online. Today we're going to be taking a look at the new PvE queue called the Swarm. This queue was released in the Victory is Life expansion, and I will be playing it on the advanced difficulty and give some tips along the way and kind of show the structure and all the objectives of how the actual queue works. I am on my trusty Jem'Hadar character here. I'll just quickly show the build and equipment I'm using so you have kind of an expectation of how the ship is performing while I'm going through the queue. Now, I am just running a pretty early game build here, kind of a progression build. I have definitely not a final end game build, but I have upgraded everything to Mark 15, so you can at least be aware of that. I'm not running any fleet gear. I'm just using the starter Jem'Hadar space set, anti-proton cannon scatter volley build, along with aux to bat. You can see I don't have any locators, so it's definitely not a endgame build. I'm just running the key traits for Cannon Scatter Volley for Withering Barrage, and then with the aux to bat, I'm running Cold Hearted. I haven't unlocked any of the extra trait slots or the DOF slots, so yeah, still a pretty early game build, but at least have everything upgraded to Mark 15. So you can be aware of that, and so you can get an idea of what kind of performance I'm getting during the actual queue. I will be running it on advanced here. Now, you are going to want to run this queue because this will be rewarding you with the new gamma marks. Along with, if you run it on advanced difficulty like I will be in this video, you will also be getting these, which is the germanium carapace fragments, which is the elite mark for this particular reputation, which is of course the new Gamma Task Force reputation that came out with the expansion. Yep, so we need to get grinding there. So this is a good queue for doing that. You can see it's actually the only queue right now that awards these gamma marks. The only other way to get it is if you go to the battle zone in the gamma quadrant. But we'll be focusing on the space queue for this video. Let's go ahead and join up. Herc swarms are approaching a Dominion planet. Help Odo evacuate everyone. That's a pretty accurate description. There are basically, when you get into the queue, you'll see there are actually 3 lanes where the transports will be evacuated, and you will probably want to split up. I'm just going to be running this in a pickup group, so you just have to kind of get a feel for where everyone else in the group is going and try to spread out, because, you know, pickup groups are not exactly coordinated. Right, there are actually also 3 phases to this queue, and the first 2 phases go very quickly, and if you do the objectives, if you focus on the objectives, you can complete them very quickly, which is great. However, the third phase is unfortunately time-gated, so you can't really speed that one up, which is unfortunate. Time-gating is, time-gating is a little bit depressing because it means that no matter how well you perform in the queue, it's still going to take you the same amount of time no matter what. Although the time gate on this one's not as bad as some other ones like Counterpoint, which is heavily time gated. This one's not quite as bad, but I'll make a mention of that. When we get to the third phase, you'll see what the time limit is on that. Anything else I should mention before going in? I can show... yeah, I'm actually, believe it or not, I'm still using the standard skills that were awarded with the new Jem'Hadar character. When you created a fresh Jem'Hadar character, these are the skills you get. I'm still running the same intel and command that was granted if you're a tactical character as a Jem'Hadar. That is what you started with. So I haven't messed around with those yet. That will be coming soon when I do a respec. All right, and here are the bridge officers I'm using as well. You can see pretty standard Cannon Scatter Volley. Build, let's go ahead and accept it, with aux to bats. And one of the lovely things about this Jem'Hadar Vanguard warship is that it comes with a lieutenant commander in the Miracle Worker bridge officer specialization.
The Herc are about to overrun this planet, and time is a factor. Several Jem'Hadar ships have been disabled by the Herc. Give them a power boost to bring them back online. Be wary. Herc scouts are searching the system for easy prey. Work quickly. The main Herc force will be here soon.
That is phase 1, is you're going to want to power up the Jem'Hadar ships. And one thing you will notice to identify where the ships are, I believe there are 9 in the first phase that you need to power up. And I'll show you here. You can see here are the 3 lanes of evacuation that you probably want to distribute the group among these 3 lanes. And there's 3 of the Jem'Hadar ships in each lane that need to be powered up. And you can actually see them. See right when the queue started, the green smoke clouds appeared. Those green smoke clouds are the Vanguard or the Jem'Hadar ships that you need to power up. You see here I'm taking out the taking out the enemies here, because they will interrupt you if you if you try to power up the ships while if you get hit, they will interrupt you. So you want to take out those ships as quickly as possible, and then power up these ships. The actual objective is to power up the ships. And you can see this person's powering up that one. That's great. And there's one over here. And after we're done with powering these up, I'll head over to the other 2 lanes and help out there. It looks like mid lane is having a little bit of a problem here. In general, the mid lane here has the most ships to deal with. Just in general, throughout all the phases, it seems to get the most spawns. He is taking them away. That's a good thing. See, you can send power from quite a distance away, which is a nice thing about this phase. You do have a time limit. You can see there's only a minute left, and we've got to try to finish up. I'm going to go help thin out this herd here. Once you complete the 9, okay, yep. As soon as you complete the 9 power-up ships that you need to power up, as soon as you complete that, the next phase is just you have to destroy the remaining Herc ships, including the swarmers and whatnot. Now, while that's being cleaned up, I can describe, so that's phase 1, that's all you have to do. You do have a time limit, so you got to work quick. Make sure you focus on the objective of powering up the ships, and then take out, you can kill all the stragglers after that.
Well done. The Jem'Hadar will help you deal with the Herc. You'll want to bring the defense satellites back online now. They'll make a difference when the main force arrives.
So that is the next phase. And I'm going to go over here to this one. So the satellites are these little sparkling bits. There are 4 of them. And again, you're going to want to...
The satellite is back online. We'll launch tractor.
You're going to want to spread out a bit with your team and try to defeat the enemies. Someone's helping you here, but you're going to want to spread out a little bit. Take out the enemies as fast as you can, and then power up the satellite. If someone else has aggro on the enemies, you can swoop in and power up the satellite. You don't need to wait. So, yeah, if you notice someone else has the aggro, you can fly around and just power up the satellites. And just like the first phase, in this phase 2 here, you have pretty limited time. I think it was 2 minutes at the start. So we've got, okay, good. We got all 4 of them powered up. Awesome. So you see there's another one right there. There's one over here, and then there's one on the far end by that lane. So the first two phases go very quickly as long as you stay focused on the objective, power up all the satellites, and you're good to go. Now these satellites are actually pretty cool. You can see there's a little option there. If you get near them, once you power it up, you can deploy tractor mines right there.
The last of the refugee ships are ready. Protect them from the Herc as they leave the planet.
Okay. So this is the third phase, and this is the time-gated phase where you need to follow these 3 lanes and escort the ships, with the transport ships, as they see they just warp in there. They fly down the lane, and then they warp out over here. You just have to protect them during the trip. You can see this lane is not lit up. That means no ships are coming down this one. And these 2 lanes are lit up, so you've got plenty of ships over here. I guess we'll head to this far lane. Just take out the Herc ships while, you know, kind of keep them off of the transports. Most of the time, the Herc ships will spawn in right at the end of the lane, although sometimes you will see they do spawn towards the middle, but that's usually where they spawn in, is there at the end.
Warning. Ship is under attack. Target shields have failed. Our shield failing.
I typically focus on the Ravagers, as the Swarmers will usually get taken out by the AoE from the cannon scatter volley. You don't need to focus on them too much. So you can see that
ship spotted at escape route Gamma.
Yeah, that lane has now completed, and they've switched over to this lane over here. So we'll go ahead and head in.
Herc Dreadnought on sensors. Be careful.
One thing I'll say is it's much easier to find your target if you mouse click on them, because if you tab target, you're going to end up targeting these energy nullifiers, which are invulnerable to damage. So I definitely recommend using click targeting. And there is the hive. So at one point during this queue, you will have a Dreadnought jump in. And it is to a random lane. In this case, it did come over here to Gamma lane. You can take him out. That's just an optional objective, but you know, if you got enough to DPS, should not be a problem to take him out. He is like the assembly ships where he has that immunity shield on a quadrant of his shields, so you have to maneuver around to avoid hitting him on that quadrant. And that quadrant does actually change, so if you're engaging an assembly or the hive, you will have to maneuver around as you are, you know, fighting to not hit that immunity shield.
Heading down escape route Alpha. Protect them.
Yeah, so you can see Gamma has now powered down and Alpha lit up, so I'm going to head back over there. This is typically how I play it. Usually someone in the pickup group is always going to be in the middle. The middle always is lit up, always has enemies, and then you need someone to go around like this to the far lanes and keep them clean. So it's typically what I've done in pickup groups. Yeah, like I said, most people just tend to congregate around that mid lane, and that means that going to these side lanes is good if you're able to do that.
Herc ship spotted. We're speeding
Deploying
up
those
the
tractor mines
evacuation.
can be useful. They will tractor the swarmers and things. And that one was tractoring that Ravager. So they are helpful. There's a couple of assemblies over here. Okay, and then once you get to about 3 minutes or so remaining in the queue, all 3 lanes will come online. You'll hear Odo mention that as well. So for the last 3 minutes, or maybe it's, I'm not sure exactly what.
Ship spotted at escape route Gamma. Get over there.
Or in the last 2-something minutes, it'll come here in a second, where all 3, Odo will say all 3 lanes are being used. Take out this assembly. Got a really good team here. We're keeping all the lanes actually very clean. It's a great team. I've actually had pretty good luck with this this queue in pickup groups.
Refugee ships heading down escape
Haven't had any
route
people
Alpha.
AFKing or anything like that so far, so it's pretty good experience. And as you can see, yeah, now all 3 lanes are online. But yeah, one of the things now is that there's not really, since this is a more time-gated queue, there's not really a strict fail condition. There's only things where, like, if you lose transport ships, you just receive fewer marks at the end. So your reward will be less, but you don't, like, outright fail. So in that sense, it's not an overly challenging queue, because it's pretty hard to fail, but all you have to worry about is just maybe losing some marks in your reward. It's not too big of a deal. Deploy some tractor mines. Assembly. I get the feeling one's going to spawn in right here. Yep. There we go. 2 more transports are our way. A couple of Ravagers coming in here. But yeah, definitely a very good team. They cleared out those assemblies really well. Yeah, probably the only annoying thing is, yeah, if you try tab targeting, you're going to end up targeting these energy nullifiers. It's quite annoying. It happens when you're fighting any of the Herc, because particularly these Ravagers. And there we go. Destroy remaining Herc ships. Oh yeah.
That's everyone.
A few swarmers were still left.
Hopefully the Herc swarm will focus their next strikes on an uninhabited world.
How did we do? Okay, so this is basically where you can see how you did as far as your objectives. And this 52 points, seems to be the maximum if you achieve all the objectives and don't lose any transports. And I'll go ahead and open up the chat so you can see what reward you get for that. I'm going to go ahead and get, of course, the Gamma Task Force rewards. And here's what you get. You get 5 fleet marks, big whoop. You get 720 dill, pretty decent. Yeah, 3,000 XP, or spec XP, 2,000 expertise. You do get a germanium carapace fragment. You do get the advanced material box, which is nice, because this is actually an R&D weekend, so if you open this, you get an extra box, which is kind of cool. That's an event going on this weekend. And then you will get your 104 gamma marks, which is pretty decent. A pretty solid reward there. Plus, I get the 55 bonus because this was my first daily completion of this queue. So in the little bit of time left here, I'll just fly around so you can get a kind of a layout of the land here. So again, you got the 3 lanes. So you got 1, 2, 3, and it's like alpha, beta, and gamma. And when you first start out, you got to go to each of the 3 lanes and power up 3 Jem'Hadar ships. You got to do that quickly. And try not to, if you don't have aggro, power up the ships right away. If you do get aggro, take out the enemy and then power up the ships. Phase 2 is powering up the 4 satellites. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 satellites. Power up those. Again, if you don't have aggro, just power them up right away. If you do have aggro, take out the ships fast and do it. And then phase 3 is the time-gated phase. I believe it was like, what was it, like 6 minutes maybe? 7 minutes? Somewhere around there. And for those, you just have to look at which of the 3 lanes are lit up, and then take out the Herc ships that warp in and, are trying to stop the transports. All in all, pretty straightforward. Not a lot of fail conditions. The whole idea is just trying to keep all the transports alive in that 3rd phase to make sure you get your maximum reward of marks. And I'm almost out of time. Let's head out. And that is the Swarm, guys. It's actually a pretty fun little queue. I think my only complaint is the fact that the 3rd phase is so heavily time-gated. And I wish it was more like the first couple of phases. I liked how the first phases had a time limit, but if you completed the objective within the time limit, then it just immediately stopped, and then it just said just eliminate the rest of the Herc ships, and then you immediately advance to the next phase. Second phase was the same way. Power up the satellites, eliminate the Hercs, you're done with that phase. So those 2 go very quickly. But then that third phase, you're basically stuck there for, you know, the full 6-7 minutes, whatever it was, and just escorting the transports during that time. Just keep an eye out for in that third phase when the dreadnought warps in. You can get that optional objective completion by taking out the that I think it's a hive dreadnought that comes in, and that again comes to a random lane. I've seen it in all 3 lanes, but yep, just keep an eye on which lanes are lit up. Head there and protect the transports. If you're confused or anything, just head to the middle lane and take out as much as you can. Most of the Herc ships seem to spawn there, so it's always good to have a little extra DPS in that middle lane. But otherwise, guys, not a bad queue. I think it's probably currently the most efficient way to be farming your Gamma marks and your carapaces. I believe it is a bit faster than the Gamma Quadrant Battle Zone, which takes a long time to complete. That might be a little bit better for Germanium carapaces, although I'm not totally convinced of that. Yeah, I think this queue is a little bit faster, and it's a pretty fun queue. If they just, if just that third phase wasn't time gated, it would be honestly a perfect queue. But it does have that time gate in there, and yeah, time gates are just unfortunate, don't you think, guys? I know that one of the rewards or one of the incentives to build up your character and build up a powerful ship and farm all the gear and get high DPS and all that stuff is to be able to complete things quickly. That's like the whole thing. It's like your reward for having a high DPS, for investing all this time into your ship, for playing the game, for grinding it, all the events, for doing all of that. Your reward is you can complete content faster. You can kill things faster. You can defeat the enemies quicker. That's one of the main rewards. And then when you put that time gate in there, it's like, well, I just, I have this great ship and all this time I put into the game, and I'm going to be here 6 minutes no matter what. I can't, my performance does not, make the queue complete faster. It's kind of one of the main incentives is kind of taken away as soon as you put in that time gate. So, yeah, it's not as good as the other non-time gated queues. I mean, that's why queues like Crystalline Entity or, ISA, or the red alerts, everything, all those queues are so popular because they're not time gated. You can go in, once you have a powerful ship, you can complete them even faster. It makes you feel more, more powerful, makes you feel like your, time that you invested in your ship was worthwhile and you're being rewarded for it. And the time gate just kind of takes that away. But, like I said, in this queue, the time gate is not as bad as other ones. So it's not the worst case scenario, but yeah, just a minor complaint there. Otherwise, it's a pretty enjoyable queue. I think it was a good, well-scripted event. Events that go on with the, evacuating the transports and everything. It's, pretty good queue. All right, guys, but that's it. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully this was helpful. Help you complete the storm on Advanced. Yeah, good luck farming. That's it. Bye for now.